in your opinion, am I splitting hairs trying to do that? Or in some cases, is it feasible to think, no, you will significantly lower inflammation or inflammatory process by doing that? Or do I just have to?
I tend to approach discussions with people about inflammatory overburden in their lives in a fairly standard way. If a person comes to me with a known, identified sensitivity that they individually have, then we can incorporate that. However, my approach to lowering a person's chronic inflammatory overburden in their life is a 5-step program where people undertake all 5. I give them in order of priority, not so that you can negotiate with which ones you will and won't do, though. I'm just saying in terms of what I believe the causality contributor to be based on my personal analysis of the anecdotes of the thousands and thousands of people that I've dealt with. This is not a scientifically proven thing. This is my top 5. They're the top 5 things I focus on in my life, and I think others should do the same. They are a 100% carnivore diet, or as close to that as you can possibly get in your lifestyle and maintain across time. The avoidance of plant materials, they are the pro-inflammatory toxic issue. Them and their carbohydrates and their fibers and the stuff that we are simply not biologically designed to gain nutrition from. The stuff that is not food for a human being that we have taken upon ourselves to decide is food because we know better than nature for some reason. I don't know, whatever. So 100% carnivore diet is number 1. Number 2 is the daily consumption of nutraceutical supplemental products from a company called Cerule, with which I am joint ventured, absolutely. Make no apologies for that. It is a range of products which are both powerfully anti-inflammatory, using natural substances rather than pharmacological shitstorms that cause all sorts of problems. And the flagship product is one that causes your body to release more of your own adult stem cells than it otherwise would. And adult stem cells of this kind are basically magic. They can differentiate into brand new adult cell lines of any kind the body might need for any reason. So any of your tissues, organs and cells that are tired, worn down, diseased, dysfunctional for pretty much any reason can be replaced with new ones. Isn't that great? Step number 3 is to ground yourself electrically as much of the time as is feasible and possible. Sounds like crystal waving woo-woo, but it's not. There's actual science behind it. It does have very clear effects, I think, based on peer-reviewed small-scale studies, sure, but studies of human beings who are undertaking grounding with really quite massive detectable physiological changes associated with that.
You say grounding devices that plug into the neutral as well as feet in the grass, feet on concrete.
Either methodology. There are those that will say dirty electricity, though. Dirty electricity in that wall socket, fine. I'm not convinced about that. I would sooner see a person being grounded through a dirty port than not. That said, we use stake in the ground here in this house. We live at ground level in a fully detached property. There's plenty of ground outside the window, so we stick a stake in the ground outside. We cut that problem out, even though I'm not convinced it is a problem. It's something that's within control. I can eliminate it, so let's do it. Oof. So we are grounded. I mean, right now, my hand is on a mouse pad that's grounded. So anytime I'm working in the office, I'm grounded. Anytime I'm in bed, then I'm grounded there because we have a grounding sheet on the bed, and that cuts out, well, working and sleeping, that cuts out about 20 hours a day. So I'm almost always grounded. And that's for facilitation of electrons that yep. The idea or the theory or what they actually do is anti-inflammatory. Anti-inflammatory, antioxidants. Yeah. Basically, when things get oxidized by free radicals in your body, what it is the free radical is brushing past the thing that's being damaged and basically stealing electrons out of it, ripping them out, leaving a hole, which chemically alters the thing that's been damaged, and that's your tissues. So if you can absorb electrons directly from the earth, and those electrons can be plugged into those holes to repair that damage, jobs are good in. It's no different from how antioxidants in the diet are proposed to work, delivering electrons. Right. It just cuts out the middleman. We don't need an antioxidant carrier that we get from food. We can absorb electrons directly from the earth, so long as we're connected to it electrically, which in the last 150 years or so we've stopped doing because we invented rubber and we had the Industrial Revolution, and we started to insulate our houses. So that was the issue with that one. Step number 4 is to block blue and artificial wavelengths of light after dark. So when the sun goes down below the horizon, it's time to put on the blue blocker lenses.
And do they have to be, I've seen a lot of people wearing clear in iPhone or in smartphone screens that are clear, but I've also heard, I thought I heard they have to be orange tinted.
Of course they do. Here's the thing. It's a fact of physics. The opposite color, the antagonistic color of blue is amber. If you block blue, then your color vision will be distorted to amber. If you don't have distorted color vision, if you can see blue, then it's not blocked, is it? That would seem to make pretty basic common sense to me. Oh, blue blockers that don't block the blue. That's fantastic. I'll have some of those.
So are these clear things just by way of it's coming through some sort of filter, so it's blocking something?
Yes.
That's how they're saying it works.
Yes.
It's like a windshield on a car. It's not really
That's right.
blue, but it is maybe blocking a little blue with everything else. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I kind of thought.
Yeah, but if it's not distorting your color towards amber, it's not a blue blocker. It's a partial blue blocker. Okay. So light yellow? No. They are deep, deep orange, amber colored lenses, these things. So they go on. Yep. The way to test them, what I usually do is I look at something that I know to be blue with the orange lenses on, and depending on what color blue it was beforehand, it will appear either grey or green or black. If it doesn't look like that, they look like blue blockers. That's the right color. So if you look at, for example, the splash screen on Windows, that will look like various shades of green. The blue is gone. If you look at the blue stripes on this chair, they should look black or close to it.
I still notice a bit of blue, but they mostly looks black.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay. That's the litmus test.
Well, that's the test. As in, if you can see blue, it's not blocked. If you're blocking out most of the blue with that particular brand of blue blocker, cool. It's better than not blocking any out. So that was the fourth of the 5 steps. And the 5th step that I encourage people to undertake, case by case, of course, after having talked to them, got their history and made sure it's okay for them, is 3 or 4 sessions of high-intensity burst and repeat and or resistance training in a week, lasting 45 minutes at a stretch each one of these 4 sessions. The trick being to get at it with intensity. It's not about volume. In fact, volume is not your friend in exercise.
I was listening to your colleague, Jonathan.
Yeah. Big,
strong guy.
Yeah.
Fascinated with, he was talking to some other trainers about the rest sets. Never heard of a rest set? Cool. I can't believe I could be done in 7 minutes.
Yep.
And I'm posted.
Yep.
And my back appreciates not doing 32 sets.
Exactly. Why would you? I mean, at the end of the day, all you have to do to stimulate a muscle to progress is to stress its current capacity. And necessarily, in terms of exercise, if you increase the volume of what you're doing, you must decrease the intensity at which you do that in order to subserve the ability to do that volume.
Understood.
That's not a good idea. Exercise is often thought about the wrong way entirely. Exercise should be thought about the way drugs are thought about. What is the minimum exposure I can give a person that will be effective? Right. But in exercise, we think more is better. And then when that doesn't work, and when that doesn't work, we do more exercise. And when that doesn't work, the answer is still more.
Maybe you need more carbohydrates after.
Well, right. Of course, yes, maybe.
All right. But buy my whey protein that's Anthony. Can I go back to one thing that I am interested in, is the supplement product. So I've weaned my way out of, when I was new in practice, it was all about, pills and potions. And I pretty much talked myself out of business now in my private practice. And I'm happy about that. I think it's honoring what's best for people. But there are things that work. And in your product line, and I'm very fascinated with stem cells. I worked with a UFC fighter recently who's had placental cells injected because of more FDA. They can't centrifuge them down, so it has to be cell-to-cell transfer. It can't be centrifuged. But I believe the idea of that is stem cells. And I've also seen delivery systems, obviously injectables, oral pills, and patches. Your company obviously has chosen, I'm assuming, is it an oral pill? an oral supplement, and why that way? And can you just speak on that for a second? And why?
Okay. So this particular product is an extract. We're talking about the flagship product, the stem cell release agent. It is an extract from a blue-green cyanobacter that lives in this one lake.
Heard of it.
Now, there are a bunch of companies running around selling dried blue-green algae out of that lake as if that's going to do the same thing as the Cerule product. No. The product that Cerule sells is an extract which is treated in a certain way to activate it, to make it do what it does in the human body.
Okay.
Just taking the naturally occurring substance in the AFA, just drying that AFA, will have some effect, but not the same effect remotely. But also, blue-green bacteria, cyanobacter, are known to be full of all sorts of toxins. Usually, you don't want to go anywhere near that stuff, in my mind. So the Cerule product has a patented filtration process that cleans up these toxins, heavy metals, naturally occurring things that these cyanobacter use to discourage animals from eating it, basically, and just get out the active ingredient and then put it through the process that actually makes it do what it does. And it produces a thing called an L-selectin ligator. L-selectin is the protein that binds the adult stem cell to the superstructure of the bone marrow where these things are stored. To release an adult stem cell, you have to cut that L-selectin cord. You need some kind of agent that will do that. There are a number of naturally occurring agents produced by the body itself from time to time, and or things that you can take in exogenously that will do that. This product is one of those things.
So it facilitates the cutting,
that's right,
cleaving of those two to release in the bone marrow.
So what you get basically is something like 4.5 to 5 million extra release of these stem cells in the next 2 to 3 hours following the oral ingestion of 2 capsules of that product. And then those 4 or 5 million extra stem cells, first of all, proliferate. They divide and multiply, divide and multiply, so that they make their numbers ever greater. Then they start looking for tissues that need some love, basically. And they go
and they're pretty indiscriminate. They just find...
Well, your body has its priorities. It depends on the strength of various different chemical signals and stuff. I mean, obviously, if I have damage to a vital organ like the heart and maybe a problem with the skin between my big toe and the second toe, then my body's going to repair the heart tissue first.
I would hope it would choose that.
As such, we don't run around making promises to anybody about what our product will do for them specifically. Can I take this product to fix my knee? Well, it probably will have an impact on your knee, but I'm not allowed to promise that, is the answer, because the body decides what is going to happen to these adult stem cells once they're released.
And in your opinion on carnivore diet, how long could I expect the carnivore diet to continue to work its magic on a chronic, like disc knee, until you say, well, you probably recouped or appreciated how much this diet is going to have an impact on that condition. And now you have to look at number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 of what you just told me. Like, what is, people ask me, well, how long do I have to do that? Well, hopefully the rest of your life. But I think what they're really asking is, I'm not seeing everything remitted yet or healed. And I've been doing this for 3 months. Is another 3 months going to, or no, you're about as good as you're going to get from the diet portion of those 5 steps.
I'm often asked, how long does it take for 100% health? To which my answer is usually, well, how long did it take you to mess your health up?
Only 30 years.
Right. So it might well be a 30-year journey back to full health, if you ever get back to full health, because obviously clock's ticking. The sooner we start, the more likely we are to get to the best place possible. Secondly, while those things are in order of importance on my list of 5, diet, Cerule products, electrical grounding, blue light, exercise, in that order of priority, the diet is the most part of the battle. Absolutely. It's the most important thing. It's the biggest chunk of what contributes to what seems to be the best outcomes for people. But those other 4 are on the list because I think you need to do them.
Yeah.
If you cover off those 5 things, all of them, every day, to me, it's like that's 95+% of the battle. And anything else you do in your life beyond those 5 things is in that less than 5% category. That's why it just doesn't make my list of things to worry about. Oh, what about EMF? What about, infrared? What about, there are a billion what abouts you could throw at me. But after, thinking about it for a goodly number of years and consulting with a lot of people and talking with a lot of people, I'm pretty well set on that 5 in terms of physical, practical things a person can do in their life. I'm not suggesting you don't need to do mental work on the side. Absolutely you do. I'm talking about action steps here. Sort out those top 5 things and your hormones will sort themselves out too, mostly.
Gotcha.
So it's like, again, why deal with the symptomology or try and intervene at a level that's not the control level?
Yeah, it's almost like the allopathic LDL thing that we started this conversation with.
Yeah.
I'd be doing that, right? I mean, maybe if I'm doing the 5 things you recommended and then I do that, okay, well, maybe that's a life credit. Maybe that can just get a little speedier. But, right, just take care of what needs to be taken care of.
Yep.
What I'm getting your saying. Okay.
Cool.
I appreciate the Q&A. You did a terrific job, and I think this will help a lot of people.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Cool.
Chat soon.